It's time to get your pulls. Going to the comic store. Time to get your pulls. Better get those bags and boards out. Better get those pulls at the PoddyHumor.com. Yeah.
Coming to you live from the PoddyHumor.com studios, it's Getchyapulls.
Getchyapulls. Get your pulse, number 55. We're back. It's Muji.
And it's Dan.
And it's not Todd. Just like it's not hot.
Yeah.
But if you don't get that reference, we're not going to explain it to you. But if you do, you can be our friend.
If you do, then you know. You truly know.
Yes.
Had some torrential downpours here in the area where we're from, which is the Chattanooga, Tennessee region, where the compound is, the PoddyHumor.com studios, where we broadcast from. And poor Todd, this week, the victim of some torrential downpour, had another flooded basement. I think he got all his comics out the last time, so I do believe Back to the Longbox is still saved for future editions, but certainly...
Yeah, it would suck for him if the rain fucking got a hold of his pulls and sucked them back to 1998.
Oh!
Something as a slide. It's just there's more of them from 1998 than the other year. That's true. But it's like mine. I mean, I just started liking comics, so you can make the same joke that all of my comics are from 2012.
This is true.
Yes, but anyways, we got plenty of stuff to talk about this week. Light on pulls, but plenty of other stuff, so that's cool. All sorts of news for the week. DC announced they're gonna have Damian. He's still dead, but he's got a new story coming out. There's going to be a little 4-part mini, a little Damian Wayne story. It's actually going to play into if you remember, I think it's issue, I'm not going to say, it's like 668, something in the 660s of Morrison's original Batman run where he wrote kind of a future what-if type story in the run of Damian as Batman years later after Bruce has passed and the cowl's been passed to him. So they decided they want to explore that a little bit, even though Damian's dead. It's, it's almost like a little what-if Elseworld tale. So, even though he's not in the comics, they'll give everybody who's mad he's dead a little bit of a taste, something to go by.
He was pretty badass as Batman in that little brief thing. I haven't read much of it, but what I have read was pretty, just the description of some of the things that he would do as Batman, very Damian-esque. So that could be cool. It also could serve to confuse the shit out of your New 52 fan base, but hopefully it doesn't.
That's true. And then NBC made an announcement, which Michael Scott might have referred to as bad idea jeans. That doesn't really make sense when he said it or when I said it, but they've made an announcement that they're going to take some classic shows that they, in their press release, said they know that the fan bases are just fucking really wanting and just begging them for new material for these old things. So they're going to put out some digital comics, and I'm going to give you a list here, and some of these things are not like the others. This is what they decided to go with for the digital stuff. They're going to have a Miami Vice comic. It's about detectives. I mean, it's 20 years old, so and these comics
Miami Vice is the shit. Just hold up right there. That could be awesome.
I love Miami Vice. Well, hardly any fucking of these property comics are that awesome. I mean, other than Smallville, but it was fucking already being written by comic book people at the end anyway, so it makes sense, but... Yeah, I love Miami Vice. I got them all on DVD. I've got Crockett and Tubb action figures setting up in my room. So you don't have to sell me on how cool it is. It's just, I don't know how good of a comic it's going to be. I think they're actually going to go, if you are a big Miami Vice fan, you know that the last season was crazy. Because during the last 2 years, fucking Crockett went deep undercover and they wouldn't really tell you. It seemed like he lost his mind and maybe he actually like turned into a bad guy.
Yeah, I thought, didn't he get hooked on blow?
Well, it was always a thing where maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Maybe he was just so good at being undercover that he fooled even the people closest to him. But Tubbs thought that he'd fucking lost it and everything. But I think that they're gonna go with like season 3 is gonna be the end of it. And they're gonna go. There's gonna be no undercover like Tween and Crockett.
Retconning?
They're gonna retcon the last 2 seasons.
Retconning Miami Vice history? Are you kidding me?
I think they're retconning the last 2 seasons. A lot of stuff happened too. A lot of the characters came off the show, so I think they want to use the whole original cast of good characters. But so that's one. So that's out of all these, that's the one I'm like, that's fine. Knight Rider.
Nah.
I mean, nobody cares, but I mean it's sci-fi, whatever. And here's the other one, Airwolf.
Meh.
I don't think anybody wants that. Punky Brewster. I mean, I guess if you're wanting to make a comic for kids, that's a viable choice. But then here's the last one, which I only say
Trapper John MD.
it's not. This is a show that I loved as a kid, and maybe they'll be making it for kids again, but it seems like I don't know what the fuck they're going to do as a comic. It's Saved by the Bell. A Saved by the Bell comic. So, yeah, NBC trying to get to the comic game. I can only imagine they have these properties sitting around, and maybe it's one of those things where they could lose them or something, and they're just like...
So who's writing? Is they going to have, like, staff writers or what?
They're people who've written other comics. There's a list of possible names that they said they're being published by Lion Forge Comics, which I've never heard of them. Doubt hardly anybody has, but they have some people that they say are writing them. They've written some other stuff or drawn stuff that you've heard of, but it's no name people. It's like nobody that's like a big person. I mean, it's people who have done work at the big companies here and there, but not even anyone who's had like a run on anything.
Because they did these accompanying comics. Like, I remember the only other thing NBC and comic related I can recall would be Heroes
comics?
had
Yeah,
some
well,
tie-ins, and those were okay.
It makes sense. Loeb and Sell were making the show. So
right,
and
then I think they actually did the comics as well, if I'm not mistaken, but don't quote me on that one.
I mean, that's just my imagine. I mean, hey, man, if you want to go grab these things, more power to you. I'm not going to shit on anything being a comic. And they are digital only. We'll see, I guess, I think.
That was my next question. Are they coming to print?
Yeah, the success of, I think, the comics probably will determine if they get printed off or not, which I'm guessing they likely won't. Because, I mean, I doubt anybody's even going to know. I mean, if you're like a Saved by the Bell fan, are you even going to fucking know these exist? But, like I said, I'm imagining that these are things where, like, well, everything eventually gets remade. We got to do something to hold on to the rights to all this stuff, so let's just put a comic out. But, anyways, that's happening. And then, much more important and more exciting news were all of the new Image books announced. The Image Expo happened this past week, and the Marvel, or should we now call them Image Architects, are putting books out. It seems that almost, if you have a Marvel exclusive contract, which apparently allows you to also do creator-owned stuff, apparently being exclusive to Marvel or DC only means you can't work for Marvel or DC. Because it's not very exclusive if you could write books for pretty much everywhere else. I think that's all it really bans you on. But, like, Jason Aaron for sure has a Marvel exclusive, and he's got a book coming out, so I guess that's what it means.
Could possibly another mass exodus change that? You have to wonder.
I think it probably depends on the success of these books. I think, like with Brubaker, didn't plan on leaving. He put Fatale out, and it did well, and he's like, yeah, I can just go do my own thing. But yeah, it's a huge lineup. A few of the books, I won't tell all the books, because there were a ton of books coming out, but Remender has 2 books coming out. He has Black Science, which will have art done by Matteo Scalera. Black Science, eh? Yes, Black Science. And he's only identified it as it's almost like a sequel to Fear Agent. It's not in the same universe or anything, just like a, what word am I looking for here? It's of the same spirit. A spiritual
it's
sequel.
A spiritual sequel.
Yes, it's a spiritual sequel to Fear Agent. That's the word I was going for. And it's about a group called the Anarchist League of Science. So it's going to be dealing with all sorts of crazy science stuff. That's what the black means. So, in case you thought we were racist, we're not. We're just telling you the name of a comic. These days it seems as if you have to always say, I didn't mean that in a racist way. What you want people to.
Man, I just thought it might be about the Harlem Globetrotters mixing up potions and shit.
That'd be the best, or Shaft goes to Stanford to get a degree in chemistry. Which I'd read that. But he's got that coming out, and he has another book coming out. It's called Deadly Class with artist Wes Craig. It's a real short name. And it's about a school of assassins in training, so, which sounds way more into the, that's way more Remender-y. That seems way more in the spirit of most of the comics Remender does, but it'll be cool to see him do Black Science. I'm actually more excited for Black Science, because it'll be cool to see him do something different that you haven't seen him do before, but Deadly Class also seems like a cool idea. I mean, that's 2 books. Have to at least check out the first to see if they're going to stay on the pull list, but those are exciting books. Matt Fraction, who already has the 2 books that have been previously announced, has a mini-series coming out called Odyssey, ODY/C. It's a futuristic tale of the Odyssey, but doing the standard thing, it seems like anytime anyone reimagines a story these days, is all of the male heroes, such as Odysseus, are going to be chicks. So, it could be cool. He says he's writing it because he wants an ancient Greek type story. He said he's writing it for his daughter, a book that his daughter can enjoy. So, more power to him.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, that's just the thing people do now. It's just as bad as remaking something to me, like the idea. I mean, it's just another. It's like whatever. I'm not a big fan of retellings of like old things because the Odyssey's awesome. So it doesn't need an update. But that seems to be the most basic thing. Like if somebody decides I'm going to change it, I'm going to make the main person the different sex like that. It just seems to be the thing people do these days. So whatever. But that he also has coming out. It'll be a mini series. So in case you think the Odyssey is old and old-timey, because it's about ancient Rome, then you can get an update of it. But a lot of the things that happened in the Odyssey were based off, like, it's going to be weird, because a lot of the things that happened in that book were based off of dudes pining for women, so we'll see if he stays true to this and actually has the women pining for the dudes, or if that's fucking... You can't do that anymore either, so we'll see what he does with that. It'll be interesting to see how he addresses those subjects, because if he does it the opposite, then it's going to make the... if he does it the actual opposite of the book, then the women are going to look like scumbags, because all the dudes in the Odyssey are. So we'll see. I doubt it will be, especially if it's for a kid, but we'll see. And then, maybe the most exciting of the books, or at least one of the 2, Southern Bastards, written by Jason Aaron and art by Jason Latour. He's Jason Aaron from Alabama. If you've heard him, check him out on the archives on PoddyHumor and the Midnight Black Mass. He's been there before, but he's from Alabama, so it's going to be set in Alabama, and apparently Latour is also from the South. So it's going to be set there, and he says, imagine it's Boss Hogg versus the Untouchables. It's going to be a high school football coach that's kind of running the town, and of course, matched up with all the dirty stuff, and then there's going to be some cops come in. They're like, hey, we gotta get rid of this guy. So, and he also... one of his big comments on the comic was that at Marvel, he's not allowed to put cuss words in his book, so he's gonna, all the times that when he's writing Wolverine that he wants to cuss, he's like, that's gonna be in this book instead, so it sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, I could only imagine that'll be a lot of fun. Southern Bastards, and sounds like, going for something more along the lines of Scalped.
Yeah, he actually said some of the ideas that he never got to use in Scalped will be incorporated into the book. So it also, you could, as Remender would say, I guess could be a spiritual sequel to Scalped or in kind of the same universe. But it sounds awesome. And then the last book announced at the Image Expo, which you can go on their website and see all the books, because there are way more than this. But the last one that I thought important enough to announce is Velvet, which is going to be written by Brubaker and art done by Steve Epting, the old Cap team. Brubaker said he's had this idea for almost 8 years, but, artists generally can only do one book at a time, so he had to wait until Epting's Marvel contract ended before they could start the book, and it did, so now they're doing this. And it sounds great. If you like Brubaker stuff and you like all the spy stuff and noir stuff, this is right up your alley. It's set during the Cold War, and it's about the main character is going to be something Velvet, the chick. It's a woman whose last name is Velvet, whose first name I can't remember, but she basically was the secretary and she was a long-time secret agent and the secretary of a James Bond-esque hero. And when the James Bond guy gets killed, she gets pulled back into the spy world. She's been retired forever, but she gets pulled back in because now she's the one that knows all the secrets, that he knew. And it sounds awesome. So that's another Brubaker book that I'll probably have to get.
Exciting to see that creative team lined up again. Steve Epting's really fantastic. Really one of my favorite artists, honestly. Especially on that type of stuff. It's hard to draw comic books with a realism. If you overdo that, it's kind of comes off kind of cheesy. I don't know, like you could, Greg Land, if you're familiar with his art. People will say he draws very realistic art, as he does. He's obviously uses a lot of photo models and draws off of them, but there's a wooden quality about it that it just doesn't capture the spirit of what comic books are supposed to capture, which is action.
Yeah, his comics seem like people are just standing and posing no matter what. If they're standing there talking or if they're fighting, it just seems like they're in a pose.
But Epting has this ability to craft a realism that doesn't take you out of the moment, if that makes any sense. If you read his work or look at his work, I think you'll know more what I'm talking about. But my 2 cents on him is he's fantastic, so that's good news.
Yes, that's great. And then the last big announcement from the Expo was really about The Walking Dead. Not a new comic, but the next big storyline of Walking Dead, which is entitled All Out War, is going to start happening in September, and they're going to start shipping Walking Dead bi-monthly because this is going to be a giant storyline. Obviously, that kind of gives out the fact that all the different little communities that they've been finding in recent Walking Dead, if you haven't been reading, then the most basic spoiler-free thing I can say is that Rick and company got out there, found out that there are, multiple other settlements of survivors out there, and kind of figured out who's who and who they can be allied with and who has hidden agendas. And apparently there's going to be a giant war between some of the settlements, and it's going to take place over a 12-issue run. So it sounds like it's going to be awesome. Really exciting coming up.
Yeah, that's really good news.
Even though Walking Dead's gotten really good and has been good for a while, it seems like it has the most mass appeal to people when there is some sort of big fighting going on in it, and so people are going to get what they wanted. You're going to get 3 solid months of it, so it's going to be great. Or 6 months of it. It's 12 issues bi-weekly, so yeah, it's going to be from September probably to March. So that rules.
Increasing your comic budget and your excitement level at the same time.
Yeah, and a little other small thing for the things I'm not a fan of digital comics, but one of the main reasons my argument against them, or the fact that you don't really own them. Well, Image also announced that they're going to start releasing outside of just Comixology. You're going to start being able to buy all the Image comics on their website. They're going to be DLM free, so you will actually be able to download them to your computer, to your iPad, whatever you're reading your comics on, and you'll actually own them. Digitally, you don't have a print of it, but you'll actually be able to do what you want. So if your internet connection's not working, you won't not have access to your comics. And they're the first people to do that, the first major publishers. So that's once again, Image being ahead of the curve. But if you are, on the fence about digital comics, and if that's a big issue to you, well, they just canceled it out. So it's another good announcement from them.
Image often ahead of the curve on things like that. I think they've had certainly a lot of ups and downs over the years as far as creative, as far as financially. Pretty bold move just to be created from the ashes of guys jumping ship from Marvel and creating their own company. But right now, they're really the leader in comics for the purists, I'd say.
Yeah, it's really it's really a second Image. They had last year one of their big things, their documentary is going to be called The Image Revolution, and they were had banners of that all over their expo last year. And it really is this is really their really second golden period in their company's history, but this time it seems like it's going to stick, and it's not just really the original guys. You can hear it if you listen to the Jim Lee Fat Man on Batman interview. You can really hear that the original guys, and they originally jumped ship, they didn't really have a whole lot of a plan. They were kind of just doing it as they went, and because of that, books didn't ship on time, and it wasn't very professional, even though it was cool, and it obviously made a huge mark, and did set the precedent for people being able to get paid for their ideas and stuff, and got guys better contracts at Marvel and DC. They were very unorganized, and due to deadlines and inner fighting and stuff, it caused them to go from where they had 1 month where they were beating DC back down to where they have a good market share, but a small one, where I think last year they had 12%. Nowhere near what DC had in second place, but this year it seems like it's sticking, and it seems like they're slowly doing it, but now they're forward momentum. Like, it wouldn't be surprising if they're like a legitimate third. There's not just a big two, that there is a big three with Image in there. But that's it for the news. Plenty of that this week, and so now it's time to go back.
Biggity back to the long box again. Part 3 of Wolverine by Chris Clairmont and Frank Miller. The 1982 4-part miniseries that the upcoming Fox Studios motion picture will be based upon. Here, coming up here in just a couple of weeks in the month of July 2013.
That's getting close.
And saw a trailer for that during the UFC fight last night that really made it look pretty badass. Was the first. Most of the trailers I've seen of it have been fairly reserved, but that one really kind of let it fly. So makes me quite a bit more excited for that. I'm really hoping, being Wolverine's one of my favorite characters, and always has been, that it's a success. But no doubt this comic was a success. In this particular issue, Wolverine's still continuing his romp across Japan with Yukio. We've come to find out in the last couple of weeks since the previous issue ended, they have been out getting hammered and tearing up bars and just raising all kinds of hell. Wolverine's a little broken-hearted over Mariko, but he's certainly getting over it with the company of this new lady.
That's all it takes in comics.
Usually it does, yeah. They continue this. Wolverine has a dream that's sort of prophetic. When he awakes, he finds that the Hand has infiltrated his place, and he overhears a conversation. He finds out, of course, that Yukio is working for Mariko's father, as we've previously been revealed. But what we don't realize is that she actually has fallen in love with him, and
of course,
and this Hand has actually been sent to kill her because she hadn't killed him yet, and so the only way you can redeem yourself is to kill him in front of us. Of course, Wolverine and her team up and beat the Hand's ass, but he slips up and calls her Mariko in a daze.
Uh-oh.
And she kicks him in the face. And when Wolverine tracks her down, instead of finding her, he finds his buddy, the guy from the embassy, Mr. Asano, dead at Yukio's hand. She's going off the rails because she thinks Wolverine doesn't love her anymore, so now she's just on a suicide mission. Wolverine chases after her. He basically tells her that, he's got to kill her, and he thinks about doing it, but the Hand attacks again, this time attacking both of them. They've got reinforcements. Wolverine fights it off, but he isn't truly a man alone here, as of course he and Yukio's relationship just exploded in front of his face, and he's still got a long way to go here with only one issue left in this 4-part mini into resolving his issue and finding out what the hell he's doing in Japan in the first place. But true classic.
Nice. Well, my entry this week for Back to the Long Box just got in the mail last week and read it, which is awesome, which I already knew because I already read some of it. But yeah, Ed Brubaker and Shaun Phillips' Criminal. Got the first Omnibus, which has the first 3 of the 6 criminal stories that have come out so far, and it's really, really good. I mean, I think I'd talked before Back to the Long Box. His last, the Last of the Innocent, his last criminal miniseries to come out, but just a brief description. We talk about Fatale all the time, and if you like Fatale, then it's in the same vein, just without the supernatural elements. They're all stories that take place in the same universe, but different characters. You'll see all the characters, and he does a really great job of. It's a little bit, I would say, similar to Sin City, in how there'll be a story where people just kind of pass through, and then the next story in Criminal, the next arc will be about some of those characters that you just saw in passing in the previous stories, and they all and all the events, everything kind of tie together. So once I read the first 3, everything that happened in them, you can look back and see, kind of what was going on, and all that stuff was going on at the same time. And it jumps between the 70s and current time, where it has 2 different generations, basically, of crime families and what's going on with them. But it's really awesome. That if you've been listening and you've taken our advice and went out and grabbed Fatale, then definitely grab Criminal. It's really affordable too. If you go onto cheapgraphicnovels.com, you can actually get the Omnibus with the first 3 entire stories, plus a couple of small stories and extra content is just $27. So it's pretty awesome.
Outstanding.
Yeah. But that's it for the old long box this week. So
It's time to get our pulls. Did you get any pulls this week,
Time
Muji?
for
Looks like
pulls.
you got a few.
I did. Fresh off the consequences of Pull-mageddon, my pull list was short this week. I actually got these. I got Wolverine, which I got in the mail Saturday. I haven't read yet, but next week we'll catch up on Wolverine the X-Men because got those 3, so we can get caught up on those. So that'll be good. But my 3 for this week have we'll start out with Batman Detective Comics. A brand new story going on here. Actually, it's it's kind of the second part of the story, but Batman has some new villains he's fighting. It was pretty cool. Say, Detective got lame for a while, but since John Layman's taken over, it's gotten pretty good. So,
Well, and he's got a pretty key spot right now, honestly, in that Scott Steiner, who has been the Batman lead, is really just focusing on the Year Zero stuff right now, or 0 years, should I say.
yeah, Batman and Robin is really just still the fallout of there being no Robin. Like, all those stories kind of are just people trying to cheer up Batman.
So, yeah, this is straight up the one book where you can get stories just about Batman right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And he introduces some new characters in the book, and it was pretty good. It was pretty entertaining. And Green Arrow 22, it got awesome. The last couple of issues it really turned it up, and it's getting really awesome. And this was really good. You get a new villain called Count Vertigo. That
Well, he's a classic Arrow villain,
so
actually.
the
The new 52 debut of Count Vertigo is
inter-
awesome.
Yeah, the new introduction of him. It's obvious in this story, at least, that Oliver has no idea who he is. So it's the new 52. The new 52 edition, and he's it's pretty cool. There's some different stuff going on here. You find out that you find all sorts of stuff. There's a lot of stuff about Oliver's dad in it that he tells you about, and without ruining it, I can't really talk about it without ruining it, but it was still good. It was still good. And Count Vertigo, he was cool. So I think one of Green Arrow's problems, I don't really like his rogues gallery all that bad because they're just, at least Count Vertigo's got something different because almost everyone he fights is just another archer. There's only so many tricks you can be like, oh, that dude shoots arrows too, but he's bad and he's got this. Like, it's good to see a villain that's not just another dude that's good at shooting arrows because Jesus Christ. But and the last book of the week I had was Satellite Sam, the new image book by Matt Fraction. Howard shaking on the art. And I liked it. It's cool. One thing I didn't know that I guess I just missed in all the press releases is that it's in black and white, which I think is awesome because I love black and white stuff.
Yeah, I mean, especially, like, it's not a zombie comic or even a horror comic, and that was really kind of the last time, that's been done in popularity, so I don't think there's anything wrong with trying it in something different. It definitely fits the noir genre or whatever you're trying to do,
And it makes sense because it's about a 50s TV show, and, TV in the 50s would have been in black and white, so that probably has something to do with the choice they made there, but the first thing is Satellite Sam he's in a famous, kind of quasi-kids, almost like a Buck Rogers or something TV show. You get to see the really cheap sets and costumes they're all wearing, but, back then that was big-time stuff. The stuff now that is sci-fi channel quality stuff or less, that was network TV back in the day when TV was in its infancy, so...
Yeah, and you know what? Certain charm to some of that stuff that just isn't replicated now, in all honesty. Certainly effects and even acting better now, but I don't know. It's an atmosphere, it's a charm or a charisma or something about the way some of that stuff is made that's pretty timeless.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do too, though, is like it's from your childhood, so you saw it as kids. Like if one of those shows was presented to you now, and even though it was made in the 50s, but somebody told you it was new, you would probably be like, oh, this is garbage. But just the fact that, you grew up with it, and it's in like those time periods, it reflects the time that they're in, so it does make them like more interesting because, TV and movies are always like a really good reflection, just like music is, of the world then. So, when you look at it, you're like, oh, that's from, that show's from the 70s, or like you can watch Batman or Star Trek and be like, oh, that's from the 60s. That makes sense. This is cool. This is what was happening in the 60s, whereas,
Exactly.
If Star Trek came on now, you'd be like, what is this piece of shit stuff? Like, why don't they spend $1? But, but it was really interesting. It's good. The basic storyline, which they give away at all the solicits and everything, and the cover also, so spoiler but no spoiler, is that Satellite Sam, who's the star of this TV show, is missing, and the whole beginning of the thing, they're in a TV station, they got investors coming in to take a look at the show, and he's gone. And apparently does it a lot. He's late to set all the time, but they get to a part where they just have to have him, and he's not there. And so, crazy thing is, his kid is on set, who's younger, is like in his 20s, and he fills in. And so, of course, they just do a quick rewrite all of a sudden on the show, and it's like, the Satellite Sam that came in is a Satellite Sam who one of the bad guys accidentally brought in from another dimension that's younger. It's like they brought him from the past, so now the kid's Satellite Sam, because after he films the scene, they go looking for him and find he's dead as fuck, and he's got all these, then his kid goes in his room, finds he's got all these pictures of scantily clad women and stuff under his mattress, where it looks like he's been bringing them in and taking pictures of them, and a bunch of S&M stuff in his room, so they don't know what the hell. He's supposed to be the squeaky clean TV guy, and they find out that he's not. And so now the mystery is what happened to him. So it's interesting.
Yeah, interesting setup. Cool. That's like something.
It's a good first issue.
I like the concept that Rob Zombie did a comic a couple of years ago that I actually really dug. That was like Whatever Happened, Baron von Wolfenstein or something like that. It was about like a 70s horror host, and it was, things go awry, and he gets addicted to drugs and accidentally kills somebody and all this crazy shit. It was really good. I would like to have seen that into a movie of some kind, and I think that Satellite Sam sounds like a very interesting take on that period.
Yeah, but that's it for me. Only 3.
Yeah, all I had was 3 this week, and all I have is 3 next week. So I'm coming at you with the offering of 3 each time. We'll start it off in the DC universe with the Green Lantern number 22. The new recruits arrive to help Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps against Larfleeze and his army of Orange Lanterns. We, of course, come to find out at the end of the last issue that these new recruits are just a bunch of frightened children. But the Green Lantern team helps them find their willpower within, and this book continues to be very fun. Just an up-and-down space adventure that puts a smile on your face. Robert Venditti, Billy Tan, the new creative team, really onto something. Taking a difficult spot to fill in after a guy like Jeff Johns ends his run, but they're still doing a great job there. And that's 2 issues in that I'm really, really enjoying that book.
I think Billy Tan missed his calling because that name sounds like a character Matthew McConaughey would play. Like he's a minor league baseball player. It's just
Billy Tan's going back for one more run in the majors.
Yes, Billy. Yeah, exactly. He should be a character on Eastbound and Down. But
well, he's a hell of an artist.
Maybe he is that guy too. He just can draw. Who knows?
The world is a mystery, Muji. Next, coming up from Marvel, the House of Ideas brings you the Prelude to Infinity Part 2, Avengers number 15. Not a lot happened in this book again this week. Hickman telling the slow burn, nothing wrong with that, but sometimes you get an issue where it's a lot of this is coming and Banner's figuring out calculations.
More slow than burn.
Yeah, right. But we do find out what this mysterious homing signal that we talked about last week was, and apparently it's calling a big-ass motherfucking robot to the Earth to fuck some shit up, so... Or maybe it's Thanos in a robot suit. Who knows? They didn't tell us. That was the cliffhanger, so there you go.
That's cool. Maybe it'll be something different, because it seems like in all Marvel stories, if they find that there's a homing device, then it's just fucking looking for a cosmic cube. That's the general story. Is there's some weird radio waves. Oh shit! Somebody's looking for a cosmic cube.
Well, and on to my pick of the week. It was a one-shot, actually, which is unique, not fitting into the current continuity. But this really actually was released initially digitally in the Marvel Infinite comic form. Collected as a collection, takes place between the Guardians of the Galaxy .1 and Guardians of the Galaxy number 1. It's what happened to the team in the interim, It's origin slash just like getting to know you stories. Like
Point two-ish.
Right, personality profiles is what I'd call them. If you remember, in the days of territorial wrestling, a new guy was coming to the territory, they'd send a video of them wrestling somewhere else and, some of their interviews and, like, what they did in their free time to get their personality across. And this is essentially what that is. It's a promo video for Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a collection of short stories by Brian Michael Bendis, and at least in the Drax the Destroyer, got a lot of great artists, Rain Barreto, Ming Doyle, Javier Rodriguez, but on the Drax the Destroyer story, Michael Avon Oeming himself, Bendis' partner from the Powers book, which, of course, that's the creative team that brought that book to fame. So, very cool to see the Powers style here in Guardians of the Galaxy, get a nice little story about Drax the Destroyer, and how he's a bad motherfucker. And, you kind of assume that going in, but now you're introduced to him in a way. You see Peter Quill come to find him at the end, and you are 100% confirmed he indeed is a bad motherfucker. And then you see there's an origin of each of them. Gamora, Drax, Groot's in particular is touching. Rocket Raccoon's is really fucking awesome. He jumps up in a bar, tells everybody to fuck off, and essentially says that, he starts telling all of these stories about how he's defeated a Celestial, and he looked Ronan the Accuser in the face, and they're all laughing at him because he was a raccoon, and, well, that doesn't fucking go well, and Rocket Raccoon whips their asses, so it's awesome. And then the Gamora story, very cool artwork on that story. I really dug that, but you actually see hers is one of nature versus nurture. She's the daughter of Thanos, but has spent her entire life trying to outrun that shadow and take him down, and so that's a cool story as well. Really nice way to introduce you to the Guardians, and really wish they'd have put the print out on this a little earlier, honestly. I would have liked to have gotten this before number one came out, as opposed to later, because it's something that's kind of stuck in the middle, but definitely when I go back and read them, that's the order it's going in, as they suggest there in the inside cover.
Nice.
But nice pick of the week there. Very cool story.
Well, that's cool. Well, that's it. That's all of our polls for this week. You said you got 3 next week?
I do. We got Walking Dead, we got Smallville Season 11, and we have Uncanny X-Men.
I don't quite have Pullmageddon. I think I have 8. So, nice, healthy week.
You got a big one, like Batman's next week, isn't
some of
it?
the faves, we got Zero Year, second issue of that. Got Soup Unchained number 2 coming out. Got a Justice League already, a Nightwing, a bunch of stuff. We got like 8, so a bunch of stuff.
Big week
Yeah.
in the DCU in particular.
Yes, that is it. Hope everyone had a good 4th of July.
Yeah, ours got fucking canceled.
Yes,
How about
yes.
that?
Ours got
for the
canceled
first
because of
time
rain.
in 30 years, even though it's rained every fucking year in Soggy, Tennessee, where we reside and attend an annual 4th of July celebration on the lake with fireworks and chili dogs and
Right beside my
turkey
house.
legs and funnel cakes and all that jazz. For the first time in my entire 33 years, they canceled that motherfucker, so...
Yeah, and they canceled it, and it didn't even rain very much that day. It's rained a lot more on different 4th of Julys, but we got no fireworks. We just had to stay inside and set to ourselves and say America. So get your pulls.